we support here. Now, a lot of people aren't going to come in this particular live through the thumbnail, so you may not even know what the topic and title really is. But I've been watching this weird situation keep happening to our children over and over and over and over again. And most recently, there was a school shooting in Wisconsin. And of course, I have an issue with the fact that that happened. But my issue was how quickly narratives and spins came off of it, right? Now, I'm going to get into that in a minute and really explain how I feel about that. But I just wanted you guys to understand that how I feel in a lot of these situations is that parents need to be held liable for pretty much these kinds of behaviors. It's like every time the story is very similar, the person, I guess the profile of the person is always seems kind of similar, right? In a general sense. But at the end of the day, I think we need to be very adamant about how we're dealing with the parents. Where are they learning to parent? Are they over pacifying their children and then enabling them to commit heinous acts? And if parents are held to a criminal standard for things like that, do you think that that would help to alleviate the problem? Because there were some narratives that they jumped right onto. Of course, there's gun control, but it wasn't one of them kind of guns. It was like a handgun, right? Then there was trans folks are dangerous. That wasn't really a narrative before, so we're not going to run with that because I'm not going to believe they're walking in the streets. I need to be worried about whether or not trans folks are going to start firing pistols in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not even on that. But what I am on is the understanding that there's parents involved in this every time. And I can't talk to them. I don't live next to them. And it's like we can't even hold each other accountable for doing goofy stuff with the children. When you can see it, it's always after the fact. Oh, yeah, they were doing this and the child was bullied. Like I said, it was always the same thing. And it really comes down to the child really needing just some love, man. Like really just needing some love. I don't know what it's all about. But nonetheless, I'm going to let the sheriff talk about what happened yesterday, okay? Because I'm emotional about it because I can only imagine if I send my children to school and something like that even happens. That's just crazy. And those kids and all those people are innocent. Even if you didn't suffer from a direct shot, there's a trauma that's left behind in the mind, right? And all of the kids in that school, that whole community is going to suffer from that. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? So let's go ahead and let y'all see this little situation over here, okay? Hopefully it doesn't try to play an
What
ad.
have you learned about who owned it and how it was obtained by the shooter?
We have asked our partners with the ATF to expedite what's called an ATF trace form to try to determine the origin of that weapon, who purchased it, and how it got from a manufacturer all the way into the hands of a 15-year-old girl. These are questions that's going to take some time to answer, and we're fully committed to getting the answer to that. I do not believe that 15-year-olds should have access to weapons that they can bring to school and potentially hurt someone. We really have to do a better job, not only in our communities, but
hold on. I'm gonna pause it right there. That's a very vague statement about 15-year-olds not having access to it. Anybody can take a knife and do stuff. It's just we gotta focus on the problem here. The problem with a lot of this is the damn parents, man. It just is. It just is. And I don't know how we can focus on that. How do we help people parent? I don't know. Everybody's always saying stay out of people's business, but when you stay out of people's business, things like this happen.
But in our country, with making sure that our young folks do not have access to weapons and firearms, and certainly making sure that we're paying attention to the mental health of our children. There's a lot of work that we need to do so that we cannot be having these conversations again and again and again on CNN and other news outlets.
Was the weapon owned or possessed by the parents?
I'm not certain at this time.
Still not certain at this time. At this time, you, as of last night, you were still questioning the parents. At this time, any reason to expect that they could be charged with any sort of crime here?
He's not going to speak on that.
Well, we will certainly look at all facts and aspects
he ain't going to speak on that
this
right
case, as they were voluntarily giving information that certainly helps to determine, if they were involved, or if this was pre-planned. We don't have any evidence that it was, but we also want to look at if the parents may have been negligent, and that's a question that we'll have to answer with our district attorney's office. But at this time, it does not appear to be the case. We will get a briefing again today, but we want to make sure that people know. That's a question that people have been asking me, but quite frankly, I don't want to speculate on that right now.
I understand. You say no evidence that it was pre-planned. We had reporting last night that after looking at social media posts and writings and whatnot, there was some thinking that this shooter had some kind of notion this was going to happen beforehand. What's the latest you can tell us about that?
Yeah, we have been made aware of a manifesto, if you want to call that, or some type of letter that's been posted by someone who alleged to be her friend. We haven't been able to locate that person yet.
A second grader had to call the police, man.
We'll also be looking through her effects, if she had a computer or cell phone, to see if there are any transmissions between her and someone else, and that will give us an idea of what type of planning. When I spoke earlier, I was talking about pre-planning where her parents may have been involved.
All right. So, guys, just to be honest with you, I'm going to start with this situation here, and I'll bring it back because sometimes people don't join the live till later and they miss the clip, the context clip. So here's the thing. I played that story because the sheriff can say a lot, but what he can't say and what he should be able to say, I don't know if he's sheriff, captain, whatever he is, what he should be able to say is, yes, we are going to be seeking charges from the towards the parents. He should be saying that. That's what I think. But it seems like we're missing this whole idea that our children are a direct extension of what we are, right? So if we go in, if our child does something like this, right, and it's always the parents always say, oh yeah, it's the same profile. Now normally it's not a female, but the general profile directs us towards mental health and what kids are seeing when they're younger, right? And whether or not you're isolating them from proper social environments and things like that. Like there's a lot to it, man. There's no guidebook to it. But I would say this: if there was a guidebook to be written about parenting, one of the first 3 rules would probably be not to purchase weapons for them directly, because sometimes their minds are just not quite pulling in the idea that they could really hurt somebody. And I'm not trying to say that this person's innocent at all. I'm just saying that when you're young, it's just you see the world differently. I'm not saying that you don't have the same value for life, but it's kind of like when you go through life losing people and you get to a certain age and you've lost, your grandparents and a couple of friends over the years, and all of a sudden, you start to realize that life is fleeting and it is precious. And so you don't think that way, or at least you shouldn't, because you've had a chance to experience life and experience loss of life. So it gives you a different appreciation for it. And, that comes over time. That's why kids, shouldn't have certain things because they haven't quite grasped that concept. But it seems like there's parents that haven't quite grasped the damn concept either. The parents are showing the wrong things. And this particular set of parents decided that they would put that weapon in a 15-year-old's hands. Now, there's a lot going on with that because there was a whole manifesto and, you know, all this other stuff that's floating around on the internet. But, of course, the gun people came out right away. This is why we can't have guns. And then the super straights came out and it was like, this is why we can't have trans people. But that wasn't even like a trans person. She just looked different is probably the best way to describe it from the information that I've seen. You know, I know the sheriff was trying to he used them, theys, and all types of stuff. Gray 59, thank you for stopping in the chat. Much appreciated on the feedback there. I'm trying out here. Because a lot of times I'm on here just goofing off. But this situation is not only prevalent in Wisconsin, but as a matter of fact, I know of a situation going on currently that I'm investigating regarding some kids being locked down for, you know, somebody having a weapon in the school, in a high school. So I'm looking into that right now. I don't have any supporting things right now, but I know it's going on. I just don't have the reports just yet. It's brand new. But the point is, this is happening, what, a day later than the thing in Wisconsin? So now we got kids locked down in schools. You know what happens when they lock down the schools, right? You can't even go get your kids until they, like, release the school from the lockdown. So now you got to be sitting around worried about your kid, hoping that the law enforcement people are trained well enough that they can handle that situation without your child or anybody else's child, for that matter, being hurt. And some law enforcement people aren't that good. Some of them are great, but some of them aren't that good. They get startled and start shooting because they know that there's an active situation going on. So anything, you know, kind of freak them out. So I worry. And it's not a black thing or a white thing. It's just kids and there's crazy people. And sometimes the crazy people are kids. And when the crazy people are kids, it's up to the parents to identify that. It's called discernment. If you see your child putting up posters of dead bodies and stuff in their room and writing weird stuff, you do have to, when they're teenagers, you got to look into social media. Like, there was a time when I was younger, we didn't have all that. So my parents could just, you know, like, listen to me on the phone from another room if they wanted to really know what I was talking about. Or, honestly, because I was so loud in the neighborhood, they could just listen out the window. You see what I'm saying? They could just listen out the window. Wow, that's... You working at a Walgreens? See, and that's the thing, man. It's just like crazy people out here. Somebody stabbing a homeless woman at a Walgreens? Like, I don't even know, you know, YouTube's so sensitive. I don't even know if I can say these terms, but this is what's happening. This is the world we're living in. And we're comfortable to a degree living in it without really addressing the problem. And that's what I'm saying. You hear what you definitely would agree. It's the police officers have weapons all the time. The average citizens do not. So average citizens are going to normally act out. But they don't normally have a trigger with a bullet in the chamber that they can squeeze immediately. Now, granted, there's some guys out there. If you're shooting at the police need to be shooting at you. I am not the guy to be on some... You know what I'm saying? If the police show up to your door and you start shooting out the door and they take you out, hey, good police work. You a threat to the community. You shooting into, you can't even see your background. You see what I'm saying? But as far as when they go into an active situation like that, where there's children everywhere, so the children are already freaking out. You got teachers freaking out. You got kids freaking out. It's amazing that no one else was hurt. But in my opinion, that was because the person that did it took their own life. So the police didn't have to do all of that work to eliminate the threat. The threat eliminated itself, which to me is a cowardly act in and of itself. Like, just take yourself out then. Why go do that first and then do all of it? Why? You're not even going to get to see whatever the the sensationalism is that comes afterwards. So it's not even really worth doing. But I guess when your life has nothing else and you really feel like there's nothing to live for, maybe you'll go out and do that. But then once again, it brings me back to the parents. When a kid gets that depressed, when my kids were depressed, I mean, some stuff I couldn't help them with. I couldn't help my daughter when she got her period and stuff like that, but I could see that there was an issue. And I could say, hey, you good? When I watched my son play violent video games and he used to rage quit, right? I had to get him up out of that because I'm like, yo, if you tripping like that over a video game, what's going to happen when a real person defeats you in something? Are you going to rage quit life? You understand what I'm saying? So I nipped that in the bud. Now he's not a rage quitter anymore. But if I would have allowed that to continue, anyway, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. What we are going to get into is another particular clip that I wanted to kind of bring past you guys, because as I said, the examples that we're setting, we do the best we can, okay? Nobody's perfect. Nobody. We all know that. But there's some baselines that we can work on as far as how we deal with each other, how we deal with our kids, how we deal with the community. There's some baselines. How the police deal with the community. There's plenty of baselines. And that's why I have my hashtag fund the police. Don't defund the police, because they already having issues with the community. We need to put some money into it, better training, better situations. I saw a video last week that had weapons just going off by accident while in holster. You can check that video out. It's on the channel. You can just look it up. I think it was Desk Pop or something like that. I called it. But you can check that out. But that's just poor manufacturing. So they're a danger to themselves, the community, then the community's a danger to them, and now the kids are the community. That's the next community. And I don't want to have to send an officer home to his family after he has to take the life of my crazy ass child because my child wasn't paid attention to and didn't get one thing that all these kids really, really need, and that's just some love, man. I know it's deep. I try to keep it light here, but they just need some damn love, man. Like, a person that's really loving life, at least to some degree, is not going to think about doing this. They're not going to want to take their own life because they're going to enjoy it. They're going to enjoy it. I don't know, man. It's hitting me so hard because I'm worried about my own situation that I'm currently looking into right now. And then at the same time, yesterday, this happened. Now, I know I'm dating this video, so if somebody comes back to it months from now, hey, Grade 59, thanks for throwing that hashtag in there, too. I've been throwing it up there, man. Let's talk about the real situation. We do need to fund the police. I saw a police officer the other day, man, his boots wasn't even right, man. The back was all ripped out of him. He needs a fresh set of those so that he can chase down the real criminals. But if he's chasing down loiterers, then we need to fund the training of, let's not deal with that. We got real stuff going on out here. And we have a community of parents who have a responsibility that I'm telling you, they're going to learn. They're going to learn. Recently, they've been charging parents for putting guns in their kids' hands. I saw a case a couple of months ago about that. And they're going to keep doing it. And I agree with that. I don't think they should necessarily get the same penalty as the child that does it, because there's still a consciousness to that. But especially with small children, like if you have a 10-year-old or younger who happens to grab a piece of machinery and hurts themselves or someone else, the parents need to go to jail. And I hate to say that because I would rather the children have their parents in their life, but if their parents are that irresponsible, then maybe it's safer to do it the other way. Just saying. I know that's tough for some people to hear, but no, I'm serious. Maybe just the other way. We find this other clip for y'all real quick. Thank y'all for stopping in. Anybody that stopped in, appreciate y'all, man. I know it's a little early in the day for this. The news cycle has been inundated with it, and honestly, it's with the whole Luigi thing that just happened, and it's like a lot going on, and everybody's they're just trying to hurt everybody, man. Appreciate you once again, Great 59. And you know what? I'm not going to say I'm a great dad, but I'll tell you what, my kids will say that. And that's really what matters. You know what I'm saying? And I do my best. I do my best. It's just I don't want to see them hurt. And I was prone to certain things in my own life, but a lot of it was self-inflicted. A lot of it, I was kind of rambunctious. Let's just say that. I was rambunctious. But it's because I needed to know what the limits were to the world. And then when I learned those limits, I became an adult, and I handled those things with experience and held myself accountable for certain things, and that became life. But these kids, man, they just lock them away in a room, say, you know, hey, take a couple of guns and go target practice. Where do you think that's going to lead? Like, if you're not training them to go into the military or something, you know, some kids, they come up and their parents are either military based or whatever, and they're kind of like trying to get them to go to the military. So they might take them out to hunt, and, you know, they train them properly on gun usage and things like that. But I'm not talking about those parents, because there's plenty of responsible parents out there who do have weapons and stuff around their kids. Plenty of them. But there's this other group that like pacifies people with bullets. But that's just not even a thing. It's just not even a thing, man. It's not even a thing. But thanks for the